Millions know Simon Cowell as the man who crushed dreams with a single sentence. He built a fortune, discovered global stars, and became one of television's most feared judges. But behind the sharp words and confident smile was a life filled with painful losses, terrifying accidents, serious health scares, and regrets that fame could never erase. At 65, the story of Simon Cowell is not just about success. It's about the heartbreaking moments that changed him forever. Everyone thought Simon Cowell would fail. Few people could have imagined that the quiet boy from London would one day become one of the most famous faces on television. Simon Philip Cowell was born on October 7, 1959, in Lambeth, London, England, and grew up in Elstree, Hertfordshire. His father, Eric Selig Philip Cowell, worked as a music industry executive, while his mother, Julie Brett, was a ballet dancer and socialite. From the outside, Simon's childhood seemed comfortable. But school was a different story. Simon often struggled to follow rules. He disliked classrooms, had trouble focusing, and was known for being rebellious. He attended several schools, including Dover College, but left without becoming a top student. Many teachers believed he would never achieve much. That hurt. As the years passed, Simon moved from one job to another. He worked as a runner on the film set of Stanley Kubrick's The Shining. He also tried jobs in the mailroom and other office roles. None of them lasted very long. It seemed like he was drifting through life. Then his father gave him a chance. Simon joined EMI Music Publishing, where he learned how the music business worked. At first, he was just another employee. But every day, he watched producers, songwriters, and artists. Slowly, he began to understand what made a hit record. Still, success did not come overnight. In the early 1980s, Simon left EMI to start his own music business. He believed he could build something bigger. Instead, everything fell apart. His company struggled. Money disappeared. By the late 1980s, Simon was in serious financial trouble. In later interviews, he admitted that he lost almost everything and had to move back in with his parents. It was one of the lowest points of his life. Most people would have given up. Simon did the opposite. He decided to start over from nothing, carrying only the lessons he had learned through failure. That decision would eventually change his life forever. But the road back was far more dangerous than anyone expected. One bold gamble would either make Simon Cowell a global superstar or leave him with nothing at all. Failure had already taken almost everything. Now Simon Cowell had one last chance. After losing money and watching his first business collapse, Simon returned to the music industry with a new attitude. He no longer wanted to follow trends. He wanted to find artists that ordinary people would never forget. That decision changed his life. In the 1990s, Simon began working with BMG Records. There, he helped sign and develop successful acts, including the popular duo Robson and Jerome, whose music became a huge success in the United Kingdom. The profits gave Simon another opportunity to build his career. But television would make him a household name. In 2001, Simon joined a brand new talent show called Pop Idol in the United Kingdom. Viewers were not prepared for his brutally honest judging style. While other judges tried to be gentle, Simon spoke directly. Some people thought he was too harsh. Others loved him for telling the truth. The show became a massive hit. Just 1 year later, in 2002, Simon appeared on American Idol. Almost overnight, millions of viewers around the world knew his name. His sharp comments, simple white t-shirts, and confident personality turned him into one of television's biggest stars. Soon, Simon was doing much more than judging talent. He created Psycho Entertainment, a company that produced television shows and managed music artists. Through shows like The X Factor and Britain's Got Talent, he helped introduce the world to stars including One Direction, Leona Lewis, Susan Boyle, and many others. His influence became enormous. But with great success came even greater pressure. Simon spent countless hours filming, traveling, and making business decisions. The schedule was exhausting. Every new season brought higher expectations. Every decision was watched by millions of people. Behind the scenes, life was becoming more complicated. He later admitted that constant work left little room for balance. Fame brought wealth beyond his dreams, but it also brought stress, endless public attention, and criticism from people who believed they knew the real Simon. They didn't. Because while the world focused on the powerful television judge, painful personal moments were quietly changing the man behind the camera. Some losses could not be solved with money. Some regrets could not be erased by success. And the hardest chapter of Simon Cowell's life was about to begin. He was the judge who never seemed emotional. He could reject a contestant in seconds and move on without showing any feelings. But that was only part of the story. Away from the cameras, Simon experienced heartbreak that few viewers ever saw. One of the biggest losses came with the death of his father, Simon Cowell, in 1999. Simon had always respected his father, who first introduced him to the music business by helping him get a job at EMI Music Publishing. Although Simon worked hard to build his own career, he often spoke about the important role his father played in giving him that first opportunity. Losing him was deeply painful. Simon later admitted that his father's death stayed with him for many years. It happened just before his biggest television success. Eric never got to see his son become one of the most famous people in entertainment. That thought never fully left Simon. His personal relationships also faced difficult moments. Over the years, Simon dated several well-known women, but many of those relationships ended. His demanding career often kept him traveling around the world, leaving little time for a normal family life. Then, in 2013, everything changed. Simon began a relationship with Lauren Silverman. Their relationship attracted enormous media attention because Lauren was still legally married when they became a couple. Newspapers around the world filled their front pages with the story. Simon faced heavy criticism, and for a time, it seemed as though the scandal might damage his public image forever. But life took another unexpected turn. On February 14, 2014, Simon and Lauren welcomed their son, Eric, named after Simon's late father. Fatherhood changed him in ways many people never expected. Friends, co-workers, and even longtime viewers noticed that Simon became calmer and more patient. He often said that becoming a father completely changed his priorities. Work was still important, but family came first. He also became more open about his emotions. In interviews, Simon admitted that having a son made him think differently about life, success, and the future. The man once known for his sharp criticism was now talking about kindness, responsibility, and spending time with the people he loved most. Many fans believed they were seeing a completely different Simon Cowell. But just when life seemed to be settling down, disaster struck. A split-second accident would leave him with broken bones, months of painful recovery, and serious questions about whether he would ever live the same way again. Everything changed in just a few seconds. On a warm day in August 2020, Simon Cowell decided to test a new electric bicycle at his home in Malibu, California. It seemed like a normal ride. Then disaster struck. The powerful bike lifted unexpectedly, and Simon was thrown to the ground. The impact was devastating. He suffered a broken back, including multiple fractures. Doctors rushed him into emergency surgery, where they inserted a metal rod to stabilize his spine. The operation lasted for several hours. Many fans feared the worst. For someone who had spent years standing on television stages around the world, the injury was life-changing. Recovery was slow, painful, and filled with uncertainty. Simon later admitted that he was incredibly lucky. Doctors told him the accident could have been much worse. A slightly different landing might have caused permanent paralysis. The months that followed were some of the hardest of his life. Instead of sitting behind a judging table, Simon focused on learning how to move again. He followed a strict rehabilitation program, walked every day, and worked closely with medical specialists to rebuild his strength. Then, just when things seemed better, another accident happened. In January 2022, Simon was riding another electric bike near his home in London when he lost control on a wet road. He was thrown over the handlebars and suffered a broken arm, along with cuts and bruises. Thankfully, his injuries were far less serious than the first crash, but the incident reminded him how quickly life can change. Afterward, Simon admitted that he had learned a painful lesson about powerful electric bikes. He encouraged others to understand the risks and to use proper safety equipment. The accidents changed more than his body. They changed the way he looked at life. Simon began paying much closer attention to his health. He adopted healthier eating habits, exercised regularly, and focused on spending more time with his family. He also spoke about appreciating simple moments that he had once taken for granted. Fans noticed something else. The man once known for his tough image seemed softer, more grateful, and more reflective. But perhaps the biggest transformation was still to come. At 65, Simon Cowell is no longer just the brutally honest judge who made contestants nervous. He has become something very different. And his greatest legacy may have nothing to do with television at all. At 65, Simon Cowell is almost unrecognizable, not because of fame, but because of how much his life has changed. ANS noticed something else. The man once known for his tough image seemed softer, more grateful, and more reflective. But perhaps the biggest transformation was still to come. At 65, Simon Cowell is no longer just the brutally honest judge who made contestants nervous. He has become something very different. And his greatest legacy may have nothing to do with television at all. At 65, Simon Cowell is almost unrecognizable, not because of fame, but because of how much his life has changed. For decades, the world knew him as the toughest man on television. Contestants feared his opinion. Audiences waited for his brutal honesty. Many believed he cared only about ratings, money, and finding the next superstar. But time revealed a very different story. After surviving 2 serious electric bike accidents, Simon began slowing down. He realized that success means very little if you are not healthy enough to enjoy it. In interviews, he has spoken about becoming more careful, exercising regularly, eating healthier, and spending more time with the people who matter most. The biggest change came through his son, Eric. Born on February 14, 2014, Eric became the center of Simon's life. Simon has often said that becoming a father gave him a new purpose. Before Eric, work usually came first. Today, he has explained that many of his decisions are made with his son in mind. Friends and co-workers noticed the difference. The sharp-tongued judge who once seemed impossible to please became more patient behind the scenes. Contestants have described moments when Simon quietly encouraged them after auditions, even if those conversations never appeared on television. His public image also changed over the years. Simon has spoken openly about using cosmetic fillers in the past, later admitting that he felt they had gone too far. He eventually had many of the treatments dissolved, saying he wanted to look more like himself again. His honesty surprised many fans and started conversations about aging naturally in the entertainment industry. Professionally, Simon remains one of the most successful television producers in the world. Through shows like Britain's Got Talent and America's Got Talent, he has helped launch the careers of singers, comedians, magicians, dancers, and performers who might never have been discovered otherwise. His influence can still be seen across the entertainment industry. But perhaps his greatest achievement is not measured by television ratings. It is measured by the opportunities he gave to ordinary people. Over the years, countless performers walked onto a stage with nothing but a dream. Some left with record deals. Others gained confidence. A few became global stars. Simon helped open those doors. Looking back, his journey has been filled with incredible highs and painful lows. He experienced financial failure before becoming wealthy. He lost his father before reaching worldwide fame. He faced public criticism during difficult moments in his personal life. He survived a devastating back injury that could have ended his career. Yet every setback taught him something. Today, Simon Cowell's story is not simply about becoming rich or famous. It is about resilience. It is about learning from mistakes. It is about discovering that family, health, and time are far more valuable than applause. Millions still recognize him as the judge with the unforgettable one-liners. But those who look deeper see something else. A man who was shaped not only by success, but also by failure. Not only by applause, but also by pain. And perhaps that is why his story continues to inspire people around the world. Because behind every headline, behind every talent show, and behind every famous smile, was a man who learned that life's greatest lessons often come from its hardest moments.